New Jason. Let's talk about it. What's up, creepers and geekers? Chris the Atari Creep. How's everyone doing today? Yeah, I still haven't put straps on this thing. I'm about to yap about how much I love the character, and I haven't even finished the damn mask. That's laziness. That has nothing to do with fucking fandom. So get over it. Jason Voorhees. I fucking love Jason Voorhees. If you've been around long enough, you know I love Jason Voorhees. I don't know what it is about him aside from the murder aspect of it. Maybe so, even that. I just identify with him more than I could say like Leatherface or Freddy Krueger. Though I do enjoy those flicks, Friday the 13th has always stood out as I don't know, it just stood out to me in my mind. Maybe it's because the original Friday the 13th was the very first scary movie I ever saw. Plus Jason's not really technically in that one, so. Moving on. So a couple days ago, this image showed up. And at first I was like, God damn it. But I've had some time to mull on it. And before we judge the design, let's talk about who actually came up with the design, because that's how deep I went into this picture. You know, you guys do that with your Marvel and your modern game characters and all that stuff. I do this with horror characters. And Greg Nicotero of K&B Effects is the person who, I don't know if he presented it to Horror Inc., the company that produces and or makes Friday the 13th flicks, or if they approached him and hired him, which is a great connection, because Greg Nicotero is a student of my hero, one of my artistic heroes, Tom Savini. And Tom Savini worked on the very first and the fourth Friday the 13th, though technically he had nothing to do with this Jason. He created the one that came out of the lake. The character carries on, right? So Greg Nicotero, you know his work. I know you do. If you've watched, well, anything. He is the K in K&B Effects. They've worked on everything from everything. Mainly The Walking Dead. You'll know him from The Walking Dead, but they don't just do gore effects for scary programs. They do things for everything. You know, there are effects like that, monsters like that, movies that aren't necessarily slasher or horror zombie or anything like that. His company is the ILM of monster, creature, and effects design. When it doesn't come to digital, I'm talking about like gore and you know, prosthetic and creating monsters and stuff like that. And they are the kings, and they should be. Because both of the guys, it technically started with 3 people, but the 2 guys that remain all work together on movies like The Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Greg Nicotero got his start working on Day of the Dead, my favorite of the original trilogy, from George A. Romero. So now that we know the royalty in which this image has come up, let's talk about the image. First thought came to mind was, I fucking hate the jacket. I hate Jacket Jason. It started with fucking Jason X. It wasn't really even much of a jacket, you know? And then somehow it just carried on. I mean, they really went hard with the jacket in Freddy vs. Jason. And I think the remake Jason had a jacket, yeah. Which I thought that was a great design. I really thought Derek Mears did an amazing job as Jason. He wasn't too big. He wasn't too small. He had the proper, you know, I thought he was a really good Jason. It's kind of sad that they may not be talking to him to come back. The Kane Hodder days, I know everyone calls him the definitive Jason, but I'll be honest with you, I really only like a couple of movies that he was in. I only really like 7 as far as the character. 7 and Jason X. Yeah, I love Jason X. I don't care what you say. It's not a great movie. It doesn't have to be a great movie, and all of us knew going into it, it was not going to be a masterpiece. It's a fun fucking movie to shut your brain off and just watch some needless nonsense, right? Jason Voorhees in fucking space. How much, you know? It's awesome. I don't care how stupid you think it is. And I'll watch it to this day and still enjoy it. But I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan and Jason Goes to Hell. I could give 2 shits less about either one of those. Though I will still watch them and enjoy them on some level. They have merits. I like that they don't make him a monster. They don't make him bulky. I wish he had a little bit more size, but again, you can't judge the drawing until the person is in the costume. And I'm sure they're going to be some studio notes that go, I want him bigger, I want him bigger. And I hope they don't really do that too much. Because Jason Voorhees was never about being a brooding, you know, in the first two, meaning part 2 and 3, that he was in, slashing around as the killer. He wasn't really that big. In fact, if you look at him in part 2, he was kind of an overweight, mentally challenged hillbilly. You know? Part 3 is my favorite Jason. Part 4 is when he starts getting a little bit of height and stuff. You know, part 6 didn't go too far. C.J. Graham's a nice sized person. He's a wonderful specimen of a Jason Voorhees character and a wicked nice guy. I got to hang out with him a few times. He actually offered to pay my phone bill once. I lived in the middle of nowhere. And what would happen was is when we would get a windstorm or a sandstorm, sometimes our phone lines would go down. And he was coming into town to do a convention that I hooked him up with. And he went to call me that, you know, let's go have supper now that I'm in town. And my phone, of course, was down because this was before cell phones were very prevalent. And he offered to pay. When I saw him at the convention, he's like, dude, you need a few bucks for your phone? I'm like, no. So, but the overall design is what I'm trying to get to is it's fine. More importantly, the mask, though. The mask. Let me shove over here so you can see the mask better. And I was a little bit off-put by this when I first saw it. Now, let me talk about the mask itself. Can I see a Jason Voorhees without this? Yes, I personally can. And I'm wondering why, with the exception of the recognizability of this mask and the iconic visual that is. I mean, people who've never seen a single Friday the 13th will see this and know exactly what it is. And unfortunately with that comes the burden of having a mask like this. And all you can really do is try to make the best looking one that you can. And when I first saw this mask, it was off-putting. But it's because it was a new design. And again, I let it sit in my brain for a couple of days before making this video. My first gripes with this mask were the chevrons. I thought they just looked stupid. They look cartoony. In fact, I made a little Necronomicon. Do you remember those little Necronomicons I make? I actually was working on one the other day. I wish I had one here. If I can find a picture of them, the little resin figures I used to make. I used to do themed ones, and I did one like a cartoon Jason Voorhees, and the chevrons were so cartoony like that. And I think that's why at first this one, again, was a little more off-putting. I wish the chevrons weren't so cartoony, because in the context of an actual goalie mask, should they have been designed like this one, I don't think they would look like that. They would be a little more blunt, a little more sharp. They would be a lot more deliberate. I can't see a scenario where Jason says, you know what, this mask is plain, let me put some red paint on it. It just kind of half-asses. And I'm not saying that's what this is supposed to represent. But at the end of the day, this is what it looks like. To me, anyhow. The eyes. A lot of people saying the eyes seem a little too set in. And again, hopefully I said this before, we can't truly judge the costume until it's in physical form. This is an art piece. This is a drawing, a rendering, a basic idea of how they feel it should go. Once it becomes a physical thing, it may not look anything like that, because in physicality, it may look fucking dumb as shit. Or it could look terrifying. I mean, look at Art the Clown. On paper, that looks stupid as hell. But when you see him in the context of what he loves to do, and boy, does he love to do it, and I love watching it, it's fucking frightening. If you think about it in reality, I mean, you're sitting in that diner in the first Terrifier, and he just comes in and he's just like, just staring at you. That's fucking terrifying. But on paper, I bet it looks stupid as fuck. Going back to the mask. I kind of like it. I wish they would open them up a little bit, but I like how they're not oval. They're not round. They're not eye-shaped. They don't look like anything like this. I like that there aren't as many holes in the mask. Not that I don't like the holes. The holes are part of the iconic look of the original Part 3 mask. But I really enjoy the simplicity of the ventilation of the mask. And it gives this look of this thick hard plastic. This is what we've been getting for years, okay? Maybe a little thicker in some cases, but a vacuum formed piece of plastic painted to look however they wanted it to look in that particular movie. When I was a younger lad in the early 2000s doing prop trading and building in the horror community, mostly Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, there was a guy out there, one of the very first hockey mask creators that I got to know. The website was called Horror Hockey Masks, and his were really thick fiberglass. He made his mold and he would just fiberglass them out instead of, again, vacuum forming, or even in some cases doing slush casting with resin, which is probably what I would have done back in the day because I wasn't sprayed enough to fiberglass or vacuum form. I would have made the mold a little bit bigger and then just poured resin in there and did this until it was cured, you know? But I really like how thick and robust it looks, and it reminds me of that. I got number 2 of his Part 3 masks. I don't have it anymore. What I ended up doing was building a full Freddy vs. Jason costume, which looked awesome. I wish I still had pictures of it. And I carved up the mask to look like the final battle scene. And I ended up selling that costume off for like $600. I like the thickness of the fucking mask. That's where we're trying to go with this. I really like the look of the mask. I wish they would take the chevrons down just a little bit, move the eyes just slightly, leave the shape. Just move them slightly, maybe even angle them to make it look pissed off. Give the mask personality. It doesn't just have to look like a blank functional thing. In fact, this design, which is part of the original movie that used the hockey mask, wasn't actually what the hockey masks looked like back then. It was a close representation, but they altered it again for the movie itself. And I don't know if they did that so they didn't have to get any rights to use the mask or whatever. But regardless, the point I'm trying to make is we can't truly judge this. Gravity sucks. Just ask your mom. You can't truly judge this until it is in physical form. If I were to give this costume a rating out of 10, I'm going to give it a strong 7. Maybe leaning towards 8. I do like it. I like the simplicity of it because Jason is just a mentally challenged hillbilly in the woods. Honestly, at the end of the day, that's what he is. He's not a supernatural being. Maybe he is. I don't know. But the Jason that I love, that I grew to love in the early days, was just a guy. Was just a guy with a motive. Maybe he was seeking revenge for his mom. Maybe he was still pissed off that those councils let him go. He was always picked on. He was a victim. And I think that's why we all identify with him, those in the community that love Friday the 13th above all else, you know? In the slasher genre, anyhow. But overall, I'm going to say I like it. I like it because I can kind of see where it will go. The studios will say, no, we want him bigger. It's going to happen. And if that happens, Derek Mears better come back. I fucking hope Derek Mears comes back. I really want Derek Mears to come back. Let's bug them until Derek Mears gets the job again. But either way, you know I'll be there front and center watching this when it comes out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't tell anybody they're stupid for liking it or not liking it. Just say, hey, I like it because of this, or I disagree because of this. I'm going to start deleting people saying, that's fucking stupid. You're an idiot for liking this. I can't stand that mentality. Can't stand it. I'm tired of it. Just tell me why or why you do not like it. And that's all I care about, guys. Thank you always so much for watching. Go ahead and leave your feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down. It is all positive. Unless you're being a dickhead. Guys, wherever in the world you are, I do hope you're doing well. Until next time, take care. Creep it real. And bye-bye. And excuse me, I work overnights now, and I'm still trying to... for half awake. All right, guys. Be well.